Hello everybody, and welcome to episode 8 of Let's Play Battlefield Vietnam. Following the resounding defeat in the Mekong River Delta, it's already become February 1965 as the Americans have licked their wounds and begun yet another attack on the Vietnamese people. This time we're defending the Dong Hoi Barracks against the US Air Force. We'll be fighting as the North Vietnamese Air Force, defending our sovereign airspace, doing all that we can to repel these American strikes. If all goes well, we will win a decisive victory, and we'll be testing out our new Soviet-provided Mikoyan Gurevich fighter jets. Unfortunately, the most modern MiG-21 has already taken off, so we'll have to settle for an inferior MiG-17, which I believe the Americans will shoot down quite rapidly. Now fortunately we have radar in this plane, which is quite cool, and we also have an extremely hard to control throttle. Really, I'm surprised that we're even staying in the sky. I mean, look at this thing. It scares me to fly it. And we've caught sight of Americans. We've shot at one of their helicopters, but we failed to down it. In the meantime, we're going to catch sight of their bases and strike them. We're going to do all that we can to cause misery to the American and ARVN forces. I'm not even sure if South Vietnam has an air force. Now we've spotted an American fighter, I think it's the F-4 Phantom, and we're going to shoot it down. Unfortunately, I flew faster than my missiles and shot myself down. Well, isn't that just perfect? Anyhow, we're going to repel their attacks, because they're going to also try to launch an amphibious assault upon us, an assault which is, however, doomed to fail. If they do attempt to land either by air or by sea, I have my RPD light machine gun ready, provided by our generous comrades in the USSR. Now let's test the MiG-21 Lancer in battle against the American jets. A far swifter takeoff than with the MiG-17. It's also a faster aircraft. I wonder whether we'll do a better job with it at fighting the Americans. I hope so. But first we've got to catch sight of them, which is easier said than done. And I think I just saw one. Let's take him down. I think he's flying an F-86 Sabre, which is a Korean War era jet fighter. Quite obsolete, but nonetheless capable of doing heavy damage. Meanwhile, the South Vietnamese/American forces have captured another base. This is not a good thing. On an unrelated note, I hope that everybody's enjoying the very first proper, fully fledged air-to-air combat of the war. Unfortunately, I'm a terrible pilot. I've spotted some American jets, and we're gonna gun them down. If we can. It's really a pain in the ass to get behind them. It's all just one big clusterfuck. But I don't mind. Sure I don't. Because I'm too busy crashing my jet. Now we'll go back on the ground, whip out a Kalashnikov assault rifle, and repel whatever this attempted landing appears to be. This is going to be a very quick battle, to be honest. We're going to gain control over the skies, we're going to bomb the American planes. Apparently we're being struck from a small atoll in the Gulf of Tonkin. So we haven't completely secured the area yet. We have, however, whipped out our T-55 tanks. You can tell it's a T-55 because it has a machine gun on it. And we're also here with the jeeps, with the guns, with everything we need. Now I'm going to commandeer this jeep quite quickly. And I've noticed that this map is very similar. It's probably the basis for the Operation Storm map back in Battlefield Yugoslavia. If anybody's getting nostalgia, that's why. The bridge is the same. The sea is the same. And one of our jets just got gunned down. That's not good news at all. Meanwhile, we've got some ARVN/US boats getting ready to violate our sovereignty. Well, let's take matters into our own hands and gun them down. Using our Kalashnikov assault rifle, we shall defeat them. We've also got to shoot down these helicopters which are infringing quite rapidly on our airspace. Apparently the US forces are using their South Vietnamese proxies for this assault. Not that it'll serve them well either. Now let's charge into battle to clear out any US forces that might still be in this base. We're gonna turn them into roadkill if we have to. Beep beep, you son of a bitch! Unfortunately that didn't work, so we're just gonna shoot them with a few pistol rounds and recapture this base because we appear to be losing it quite rapidly. I'm not sure to whom. Fortunately enough, we've recaptured the base. We've guaranteed the integrity of our airspace. So I'm gonna go and get myself another plane. We shot Tang Hu Tuan in the back, and now we're gonna go and retake the rest of our country. We're gonna secure the area from further US-backed air raids, and we're gonna defend our country from this flagrant violation of our sovereignty. Because North Vietnam is facing the first of many concentrated US air attacks, and this is nowhere near to the worst of what will come. And so we've got to make sure that we defeat this attack, so that we'll have the capacity to defend against future ones as well. For the moment we have the advantage. Hopefully we'll keep this advantage all the way until the end of the battle. But we can never be sure. We've repelled some South Vietnamese landings. We've certainly given them a painful experience. And I'm gonna hop into this Mi-8 helicopter to make sure that their experience is all the more painful. Right on time to shoot down an American jet if we can actually catch it. Well, nope, instead it tricked us and we blew ourselves up. Great. Glorious. Beautiful. I don't mind, because we're still winning the battle. We outnumber the Americans and their ARVN colleagues. And we're going to scramble one of these more primitive MiG jet fighters into battle. Because seeing that they're slower, they should be a lot easier to fly. Because the insane speed that some of these jets had was really making some problems for them. Now come on! Where are the Americans? Well, there they are. Unfortunately, they're far better flyers than myself. We're ever so slowly patrolling the Gulf of Tonkin to make sure that the Americans don't attempt another landing, which they appear to be doing right now. We've critically damaged the American gunship, and we've also managed to remain in the sky. That is a very great accomplishment if you ask me. Now unfortunately one of our bases is under attack and we've got to defend it against the encroaching American forces. First of all, we'll shoot down this F-4 Phantom, which is trying to bombard us from the skies. Well, you won't succeed. Here we go, our first confirmed air-to-air kill of the war. Go to hell, you American son of a bitch! Fall out of the skies! The MiG-17 is a gift from above. It's also debt from above. Anyhow, it's justice from above. Glorious, silver-colored justice. Now let's shoot down this American assault helicopter too, if we can. Unfortunately, they've captured the beachfront, so we've got to scramble to retake it if our comrades can't do it for us. We've critically damaged another American helicopter, but I don't think we've shot it down. Unfortunately, we've got to work harder if we want some more air-to-air kills. But we're more than capable of achieving that. Unfortunately, we sank our jet, and now the American boats are attempting to kill us. Well, they won't succeed. We're going to do some quick, evasive maneuvers in the sea. Fortunately, I'm a very good swimmer. Or at least that's what I like to tell myself. We're going to capture one of these American riverine patrol vessels, avoid that storm of bullets, and attempt a counterattack of our own, reusing these captured American aircraft. And there's a bomb! Yippee-yi-yay! Fortunately, it fell into the sea, so I'm safe for now. So we'll take this riverine patrol vessel and bring it back into battle. We can't let the Americans get away with the war crimes that they're about to perpetrate. And there's another riverboat. Well, here we go. Up a lazy river to shoot these American sons of guns, to give them a good old lesson in waging war. We're going to shoot down another F-4 Phantom, which is really costing the Americans quite a lot of money. They're going to be forced to gradually increase their military budget if they want to survive. And hopefully this will be enough to bankrupt them eventually, thus signaling a Vietnamese victory in this war. Because we're ready for a war of attrition. After all, we're only 1 year into the official US intervention. We've got a lot more fighting to go. Now let's retake this base, because we're currently at a disadvantage. Not for long, however. Because I came here with one mission and one mission alone. And that mission is to cause as much misery for the Americans as possible. And that's exactly what I'm doing. We've retaken one base, but we've got another one to take as well. The F-4 Phantoms are coming back, and they're going to try and strafe us. But they can't succeed. It's all a very ill-fated attempt. And now, for the sake of irony, I'm going to get into one of these American jeeps and bring it into battle. We're going to retake this base from the Americans and from their ARVN lackeys. Or we're going to try and fail to do the very same thing. Anyways, we're going to strike back. This much is completely necessary if we want to be in with a chance of victory. We're going to do it with the RPD machine gun. We're going to prevent a further American advance, since they're getting very close to our air bases. And we cannot allow them to capture the MiGs, because then they'll find out all their vulnerabilities, all their weaknesses, so on and so forth, and cause us quite a lot of misery. We've been gunned down. We're under attack. We're losing ground. This is a very bad situation. And we have got to correct it as soon as possible. And that's why we're going to get into this tank. We're going to face this napalm with a smile on our face. Because this is not the first or the last time that the Americans will strike us with it. If anything, we're going to have to get ready for far more powerful strikes. We've also got to retake that beachfront property, which the Americans have so lucratively monopolized, as those capitalists tend to do. In the meantime, they've brought up what I believe to be a Sheridan light tank, which we've got to knock out as rapidly as possible. We've done it. I think that's our first tank kill of the war as well. So this is going to be an episode with quite a lot of firsts. It already is an episode with quite a lot of firsts. Now we're gradually gunning down these Americans. And they're, well, to put it simply, we're gunning down these American slaves. We're giving them a good old taste of glorious socialism and Vietnamese liberation. Because honestly, the Stockholm Syndrome of these South Vietnamese men amazes me. It really does. And now, to prevent ourselves from being flanked, we're going to launch a preemptive assault on this base. We're gonna knock out their Sheridan tanks, our second one of the battle. Bail out of our own tank because it just got hit by one rocket too many. And get thrown away by an explosion like a goddamn ragdoll. Well, it really do be like that sometimes. So we're gonna have to retake our ground, retake what is rightfully ours, do what we were born to do. We've got another tank, so that's not a problem. What is a problem is the rapidly advancing American and ARVN forces, which are causing us lots of grief. However, inspired by the glorious shining example of Ho Chi Minh, we shall repel the American invaders, sink their boats, and send them to the bottom of the deep blue sea, down to Davy Jones's locker. Their rockets will do nothing. Unfortunately, they have the audacity to attack us straight on with their inferior tanks. Because although their armor is honestly shit, they do have a good cannon. And speaking of those good cannons, we're gonna capture one for ourselves. We won't let the Americans have their day. Not today, anyway. We've retaken this base, we've retaken the beachfront. We're gonna redevelop the property that we have here. And continue our liberation of the coastline. To teach these ARVN men a good lesson in warfare. We're gonna show them that the NVA, the glorious army of North Vietnam, is not to be trifled with. Not now, and not ever. We're under heavy assault though, and we need to retake more ground. We're being pushed back constantly. We've lost basically everything, to the point where we have to rush into battle. They're even threatening our airstrips. Well, one clip was enough to take down that entire jeep. I'm proud of myself. But we've got to begin a more comprehensive advance for our liberation. Here we go! Tom Tong! AKA attack in Vietnamese. We're getting some really fast speed with the ZSU-57 anti-aircraft self-propelled gun. Hopefully we also have some firepower with which to massacre these South Vietnamese bastards. Otherwise we're going to run out of steam very fast. Come on, come on, come on. Turn around the guns. Steadily gun them down with what we've got. Not that it's too much. And now I've got to avoid a total loss, because at this point we've lost the advantage. We spent too much time fighting for control of the skies, when we should have been fighting for control of the ground. The loyalties of the ARVM troops are quite obvious now that they've raised the stars and stripes over their bases. Meanwhile, they've captured our tanks, they're bringing a lot of misery to us. And honestly, we're losing. We're going to have to resurrect our old tactics and launch a raid behind their lines. And that's what we're going to do. Or you know that we have to do it to them. No matter how unfair it may seem. They've yet to reach our landing strips, fortunately enough, and so we can continue to operate from them. If we have the chance, we'll down this American jet as well. Well, I stand corrected, that American helicopter. Now let's retake this base. Fuck's sake! Fuck it! Fuck! I'm angry now. I'm irritated. This isn't the way I wanted it to be. We're losing the battle. We're losing the North Vietnamese coast again. How the hell is this even possible? Ugh! Come on, we've got to do this. Patriotic emulation, inspired by the great Ho Chi Minh, inspired by the commands of the Politburo up in Hanoi. We've got to advance and we've got to triumph. There's no other option but victory. And victory is what we'll achieve. And no matter what the cost. Now we've got to be careful with this landing. We've got to stick it perfectly. Or at the very least stick it without blowing up. We've done it. Now we've got to actually recapture the base to guarantee our victory. Because otherwise we're going to be defeated quite humiliatingly. And I can't tolerate defeat. If there's one thing I won't take, it's defeat at the hands of these Americans. Now let's begin a decisive effort to retake these bases. To make sure that righteousness is, well, served, that justice is served to these Vietnamese traitors. Using these American missiles, we're actually knocking out their tank, which is quite inspiring. I'm quite happy about it. We've done it. Using an American MUTT rocket launcher, we've taken out their Sheridan tank, and we've opened up the path to our further advance. Meanwhile, the Americans have attempted to make that Chinook helicopter amphibious. Not successfully, however. Fortunately for us, we have an RPG, rocket-propelled grenade launcher. And we're going to use it to take out this Sheridan tank and to assure the Vietnamese people that we will not lose the coast. We can't afford to lose any additional ground. And this RPG is the guarantee that we will not lose this ground. We've got to renew our offensive because we're at a disadvantage once more. We've got to end this quickly, because at this point, the episode is becoming hideously long. I'm not sure I'll be able to process it all that easily, and everybody's probably going to get quite bored of it quite quickly. Take that, Nguyen Quai Chai! Or however you pronounce that. I've no idea how to pronounce Vietnamese names. If anybody does know, please tell me. So that's Nguyen Xuan Khai. Or at least that's what I think. Swan. Or whatever. Fuck it. I came here to shoot Americans, not to try and learn Vietnamese. Although both of them would be useful. And both of them would be welcome. Well, we blew up the same guy again. The American black magic of capitalism isn't enough to save him all. Now we'll recapture this base and continue our merciless campaign of liberation. Although the struggle will be long, it will be successful. We've got to encircle the ARVN and US forces and to evict them from Vietnam. We've knocked out an armored vehicle that they captured from us. It's a pity that we couldn't recapture it. But nonetheless, we're harming their capacity to wage war, and that's exactly what I want. At the very same time, we've also got some more support from our men, since we've reduced the pressure upon them. We're giving them a far more, how can I say, comfortable position right here. And we're going to have to keep applying the pressure. We're going to have to grab these Americans by the balls. Hopefully, we will be able to win this way. If not, this is going to be a long war. And I'm not sure if it's the kind of war that we'll be able to win. Anyway, we've recaptured our bases. The ARVN forces are once more at a disadvantage, although they've captured another tank and we've got to knock it out. Which we have successfully done with some relative ease. And now we've got to double down on them to prevent their victory. We can't just let them recapture or recapture these bases. We've got to guarantee our hold over them and to defeat them once and for all, because the Gulf of Tonkin is not theirs. We showed this to the Americans back in August 1964, and 6 months later we're going to show the ARVN the exact same thing. The North Vietnamese coast belongs to the Vietnamese people, to the Vietnamese People's Government, to the Vietnam Democratic Republic. And they'd better remember that. Looking at the statistics, we have an advantage. However, they're continuing to rain their napalm down upon us, hoping that by such war crimes they can attempt to have some kind of triumph. But if they think that that will work, they are gravely mistaken. We're going to do all that we can to impede their efforts. We'll shoot down their jets no matter what. We've got to. Because if we fail, this will be a very big humiliation. Because the NVA is not allowed to fail. Now victory seems to be once more within our grasp, and hopefully it shall remain exactly so. But I hear a helicopter, and only the Americans are devious enough to use helicopters to airlift their troops into battle. Let's try and launch a rocket at them. Fortunately enough, these RPGs are actually advanced enough to have a sight on them, unlike the RPG-2s, which are quite rudimentary, which we are using as the Viet Cong. Let's give them some gunfire, because at least that is accurate, more or less. Now they're trying to come down, but we will stop them. We'll swat them away like flies. They haven't got a chance. Although they are quite resilient, I'll give them that. And they've actually landed. I'm scared now, I honestly am. We're gonna have to whip out a submachine gun and teach them a thing or two about fighting wars. They're coming down with their planes again and again. I think they've even captured some MiGs during their raids into the interior bases. We've got to reverse these setbacks, however, and to down those MiGs if we have to. I'm certain that the Chinese, Chairman Mao, our dear comrade, and our dear comrade General Secretary Leonid Ilyich Brezhnev will gladly provide us with replacements. Now let's sneak up on the Americans. Sneaky breaky, as the Russians would say. Jumping in with our submachine gun when the time is right. This is all just one big maze, isn't it? I don't care. Victory is imminent. And the Americans have, for all intents and purposes, been eradicated. And so have their Vietnamese lackeys. The ARVN is nowhere in sight, even if the US Air Force is. And I can say quite decisively that victory is about to be achieved. And victory has been achieved. We have repelled yet another attempt by the Americans and their South Vietnamese slaves and servants, their bootlicking allies, to take positions across the Gulf of Tonkin. We have repelled their bombing raids and their assaults, amphibious assaults upon the North Vietnamese coast, and hopefully we shall continue to do so if they ever try it again. Yet another victory for the glorious forces of socialist and communist liberation in the Vietnamese conflict, and yet another setback for the US Yankee imperialists. Hopefully many more setbacks are to follow, and many more victories as well. If you've enjoyed this episode, do not forget to leave a like and a comment and subscribe to my channel for some scrap metal left over from all the American vehicles that we blew up. I've been the Nerd Gamer. Thank you very much for watching, and goodbye for today.